Simply Tammy.
It's a blessing that I'm here, I'm alive. No, I never ever have to cry, cause it's something I know will always work for me on my side. Not a thing I even have to fight, All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the love come alive. Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires, Sharing the truth that inspires. All things work together for my good. Life speaks if you listen, it might be sound. Watch the joy come alive, watch the joy. Sharing the truth that inspires.
Inspired to love, inspired to grow, inspired to heal, inspired to live. Simply Tammy.
Hello, and good evening. It is Tammy Carpenter, affectionately known as Simply Tammy, and welcome again for another amazing Women Who Win interview. As always, my gratitude comes first. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Those of you that continue to join us every week, I see some of you have already jumped into the comments to say hello. We will definitely look forward to acknowledging you once I bring my guest up on the screen. If you have not done that, if you are watching on Facebook, go ahead and jump in the comments, say hello. Make sure you go ahead and like the Simply Tammy page if you haven't already done that. I have some exciting things coming up that I want you to be connected to. And if you're watching me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. And as I say every week, even if you're on Facebook, take time out and go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell all your people, mom and them, brother and them, sister and them, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's much appreciated. So my theme for this month has been a blast from the past, empowering my present. And this is last week in February, of course, the ending of Black History Month, and my final guest for that theme. And I'm so very excited. It's a very special guest, so I cannot wait to read their bio and bring them up on the screen. Before I do that, I do have a few more things to share. If you've been rocking with me with these interviews for a while, you know I do 2 months on and a month off. So what does that mean? January and February are gone. March, I'm going to be off. But I have something very exciting coming up in the month of March, but you got to stay close to be able to get that information. So if you want to know what's happening in March, what's coming up for Simply Tammy beyond that, please hit me up in my inbox or even comment on this video and say, please keep me informed so that I know when to make the announcement. I will send a personal note to you, either on Facebook or if I have your email address, I will email it to you, because when I come back to the platform in April, I will have celebrated another birthday. Yay me. So what I have coming up is tied into that, and I'm inviting every one of you to a very special event for my birthday. So you want to be informed. It's going to be amazing. So without further ado, I am going to read my guest bio and bring her up on the screen. My wonderful, amazing guest tonight is none other than Shintara Crutchfield. And her bio reads, Shintara Nicole was born in Nuremberg, Germany, and spent most of her childhood in New York. While growing up in Bayshore, Long Island, Shintara was introduced to church singing with the Voices of Hope while only 7 years old. From there, she traveled the country singing and establishing her relationship with God. Throughout her life, Shintara used her faith and relationship with God to navigate life. She made sure to consult God with all she did, which led her to choosing to go to the University of Cincinnati on a track scholarship. Being the church girl wasn't very popular, so while in college, Shintara decided to walk away from God and pursue a life as a lesbian. She was heavily bound by the spirits of perversion, homosexuality, pornography, fornication, and alcoholism for years. She got to the point where she was sick and tired of being sick and tired. She cried out to God, if you give me a crack in a window to get out of this, I promise I won't look back. God being gracious, he set her up to be freed. It wasn't an overnight thing. She had to walk it out. Shintara continued to face obstacles that tried to take her out, with the main one being divorce. She is a witness that life does not end when you get a divorce. She is newly married to Jermaine Crutchfield and a mother to an amazing 5-year-old Lennon. Shintara is a worship leader at Life Changers Church International. She also owns her own braiding salon named the Brady Bar, where you can get ministered to while getting your box braids done in 4 hours. Shintara has slayed many giants that were assigned to take her out, but by the grace of God, but by the grace and power of God, she is still standing. So without any more delay, hello, 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 and welcome.
Hey!
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have Shintara Nicole on the platform tonight. So we're going to go ahead and acknowledge some of these comments and some of the people that are watching before we jump into parts of our interview. MJ, good evening. Glad you're here with us tonight. Delinda, hello, hello. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Brandy, hey, beautiful. Thank you for being here. CJ, thank you for your consistent support. Glad to see you here tonight. Steven, say we in here. So I think that's Steven and the family. Thank y'all for watching tonight. Hey, Darlene, thank you so much again for your support.
That's me tagging.
Let's see. Yeah, I see. Right, MJ, I said mom and them, all of them, everybody. Everybody needs to go click on subscribe on that good YouTube channel. And MJ said, hey, Tara.
Hey, girl.
So thank you guys for joining us. Again, go ahead and share it if you have not already done it. And again, remember I said I have something very special coming up in March. You want to stay close. So if you want to be included in that information, let me know in the comments. You can just put include me and I will make sure that you get that information. So as always, I always like to give the backstory on who my guests are before we jump into the interview part. So most of you, I think, that are already on here know Shintara is my oldest niece. So I have known her every single year of her life.
All of them.
So yeah, all of them years. So it was indeed an honor to be able to invite her to this platform with this theme this month. Of course, being her aunt, have been able to watch her conquer some things, grow through some things, and become the beautiful and amazing woman, wife, and mother that she is today. So I can't wait for you guys to learn so much more about who she is and what God has done in her life. So we have a few more people that have joined. Hello, Linda Caldwell. Again, guys, as you join, go ahead and still say hello in the comments and share the video. So Shintara, I think I want to kind of start from your present and kind of work my way back through some of the things with your story. So let's talk about the Brady Bar. So yes. I'm sure when you left Greenville and went to Cincinnati, being a braider was not on the agenda. So talk to us about how you started your career as a braider and then flourished it into the full business that you have today.
Okay. You hear that? The feedback?
No.
Okay, it went away.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So when I came to Cincinnati, I through my teenage years always would experiment with my hair, and me and my cousin Delinda, who's on here, we would like do each other's hair, and remember you would give me relaxers sometime. I mean, like it was just a thing that I knew how to do, and braiding I didn't learn until my senior year at a track meet. I seen one of my teammates and I was like, hey, can you teach me how to braid? And so we sat there and practiced on some of our teammates. And so I got the concept down. And then when I got to Cincinnati on a track scholarship, they cover like your big expenses, but I didn't have a job. And so like, if the calf was closed, I ain't had the money for food or, you want to get some clothes or whatever. So I took this skill that I like learned in high school started practicing on some basketball players, some football players, some of my teammates, and they would just let me guinea pig, so I didn't charge them. And then all of a sudden, I started getting good. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Hold up now. And so I started charging. Oh my gosh, I was robbing myself. I was charging like $25 for a whole braid style, like cornrow or something. And then, so it was always something I had in my back pocket. And whenever throughout life, when times got hard and I would just ask God for help financially, he would remind me like, you can braid. And I'm like, oh, I can. And then somebody would randomly contact me like, hey, can you braid my hair? And I'm like, I sure can. So it didn't get to become a thing of like a career until right before I got pregnant with Lennox. I was working a part-time job and I started braiding again just for some extra income. And I saw that my clientele was like solid, but I couldn't take as many clients as I wanted to because I was still working a job. So I was like, man, I feel like if I did this full time, I would be okay. And then when I got pregnant with Lennox, it was a thing of, okay, I don't have family in this city. Childcare is too much. And I don't really trust anybody to be able to watch my child. So I want to do something that I can make money, but still take care of him. And again, God was like, you can braid. So during my pregnancy with him, all the money that I made, I saved up about 4 months worth of bills so that because I knew I was going to quit corporate America. But I know me, I can freak out if I don't have security. So that buffer allowed me to, if I didn't have a full clientele, I wouldn't freak out. So when I had him, like I remember when I went on maternity leave, but they really ended up firing me because I couldn't stay awake at work.
Oh, like, bless it.
I was like, well, y'all beat me to it because I wasn't coming back. But, okay. So yeah, I ended up never going back. Then I started braiding full time November after I had Lennox, and that was 2015. And I started traveling to people. I would go to their house, and then when I had him, I said, okay, y'all need to come to me. I don't want to be taking my baby out to everybody's houses. And then from there, it got real scary because the state of Ohio switched it up on us and was like, if you are a braider, you have to work in a salon. And I'm like, I can't go to school. Like they was like, you need a license. I was like, I don't care. I can't go to school. I don't have money. I don't have time. So I'm praying like, God, help me. Like, this is what you've given me to bring wealth into my family. Like, help me. And the next thing I found out, like, oh, wait, you don't need a license. Oh, you don't need to go to school. You just have to have a braider's license. And I had, a friend of mine who was doing my hair. She offered to let me work in her salon. But then I ended up moving into an indoor flea market, like a small little 8x10 booth. It had a door on it and stuff. And I turned it into like a nice little salon, grew out of that to the 12x12, grew out of that into like the biggest room they had in the building. From there, I ended up moving into a salon with like a sink and everything. Outgrew that in a couple months, moved across the hall to a bigger salon. And this was December of 2019, I moved into the bigger salon. And so when the shutdown happened last year in March, I did not know that my last day before the shutdown was my last day working in that salon. Because during the shutdown, I got a phone call about another space that was 450 square feet, 2 rooms, $300 cheaper, and way closer to home. So I was like, well, and it was mine. Like before, it was like I was in a building with other people, but this one, it's the braiding part. So I moved in, been in there since June, and now I've actually changed my brand into a luxury braiding salon because I get my hair braided now, and I'm like, looking at what other braiders offer, I'm like, hold up. When you come into the braiding bar, it's a whole different experience than what I'm getting out here. So it helped me make myself a better braider. Like I braid fast, I'm professional, got precision going on. The atmosphere is clean, it's peaceful. I offer complimentary drinks. I'd step it up a notch. And so who would have thought that a hobby I started in college would turn into a fledged, prospering career. I got hair products and stuff. I'm like, what is happening? But I'm here for it.
Yes. You had to use what's in your hands, and we have a few more people that have chimed in. Rachel, hello, hello. Jarmel, hello. Matal, and I think I know your name, and it's don't charge it to my heart. Charge it to my head if I'm pronouncing it wrong. She said, "Amen." Using your gifts.
Yes.
Lauren Ashley said, "Yes."
That's my friend. Hey, girl.
So, while you are building your business, learning your trade, becoming an entrepreneur, what were some of the challenges that you faced in growing your business, seeing that was not your initial path that you had chosen for yourself?
Yeah, one thing I had to quickly learn to rely on God and not on people, because when you're in a service industry, people are fickle. And one week they in your chair, next week you look on Instagram or Facebook and they in somebody else's chair. Like, it's just the way that it is. And so I was like, I had to literally take my mind off of the people and put it on God. And I remember one day I was freaking out about money. I was like, oh, I don't have money. And God said, stop focusing on the money and focus on the people. He said, pray that I send you people, women that need you, and I'll take care of the money. And I'm in that because I'm like, God, I've gone through too much in my life to just sit on all of this stuff. So I call time with me in my chair, I call it an experience, because you might, like, the Holy Spirit always caters the conversation for each client to exactly what they need. So at that point in time, I freed myself from worrying about money. And when I did that, I said, God, send me the women who need me. Every week, I had to start showing people, because on Sunday, before I pay my tithes, my next week calendar would be empty. Empty. And I'd be like, all right, Jesus, I'm gonna pay my tithes, but I'm gonna need some clients now. And I would pay my tithes in faith. And literally before Sunday night ended, my whole week would be booked. It happened like that every week. And I'm like, yo. Like, and so even to this point now, my March calendar has been booked for a couple of weeks now, and people are already starting to book for April. Like, God makes sure that the people shortage is not a thing, because I made it about ministry. I still go in, I pray before every client, God, let me minister to this woman. There's some moms who are stressed out and just need peace. And so I pick that up. I don't say a word. I just sit there, they be falling asleep. They be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I be like, girl, go ahead and go to sleep. I don't care. Just don't fall out the chair. Like, you good, like, whatever it is. So, like, once I got over that challenge of chasing people, I was cool. And then another challenge I had to overcome was protecting myself and protecting my peace by setting boundaries. Like, in business, you can't be a people pleaser. And you can't care about other people's feelings more than you do yourself. And starting off, I cared about everybody's feelings, but I would be left feeling like crap at the end of the day. And I remember I didn't have a deposit policy. I didn't have a whole bunch of policies in place. And it wasn't until people close to me, I allowed them to violate me in some type of way, that I then was like, oh, I need to put a deposit in place, because you just booked an appointment and told me the morning of that you ain't coming. So that money I had already spent. Right. I'm not getting. And you go on about your business, or, got me working every day, all day. That was my fault. I had to learn, like, you have to love yourself enough to set some boundaries, boo. Like, yes, this is ministry, but it's a business too. Right. And I had to learn how to charge what I was worth. All of those things, because I was like, oh, I don't want people to be mad at me. Oh, I don't want nobody to not come. Oh, girl, get over all that. Charge these prices.
Exactly. Yeah. God will send the people who value what you offer every time. Every time.
I just raised my price in January, and I was scared to do so. But I said, but what I'm offering, I really should be charging more, because I'm giving you your day back. I spend at least 10 hours in the chair with these braiders up here, and I'm giving you a style in 4. So I really should, but like, and then so now that I've increased my prices, on average, I get $50 tips after I increase my prices. I was like, oh.
Yes.
But I had to learn that within myself first. And that was a huge challenge, especially, again, I said, like, being a people pleaser. I was scared of people, but not no more, child.
Look, I purposely saved this comment because we should have known it was coming. Your daddy talking about, can he get some micro braids?
In your beard. You ain't got no hair.
And I put this up earlier, but of course want to acknowledge your honey who's watching. Hey, Jermaine. This is her husband, guys. So I wanted to give him a special shout out. So yes, we have some other people that have joined. I put Rachel's comment up earlier that said God sends divine connections, no chasing.
Right.
MJ said, come on, boundaries. Cheryl said, set boundaries. So you are already hitting some points with them. So I want to back up because your bio also mentioned that one of the things that the enemy tried to do to you would probably define as one of your hardest blows is that you had to walk through a divorce. And that I'm sure was happening while you're trying to build business and build your brand. So I know that there's various parts that you deal with when you go through something like that. So I want to talk about the emotional and the mental piece. What was going on with you emotionally and mentally as you were walking through a divorce and trying to build at the same time?
I quickly saw that the theory of the strong Black woman was a lie because I had an expectation on myself to be from what the world has taught us, that we shoulder all this stuff, we carry all this stuff, we don't let them see you sweat, don't let them see you cry, don't all of this stuff that makes us these hard creatures that God did not create us to be. That, like, one of my books that I will write one day, I got a few of them I'm supposed to write, but one of them is called Death to the Strong Black Woman Theory, because it's killing so many women. And it almost took me out because I literally was going through so much anguish emotionally and mentally, and it would manifest physically. Like, I remember, I look at some pictures now and it's hard to look at the picture because I see the pain in each picture through how small I was, how frail I was. But then but to everybody else, I'm Shintara, this superwoman. And so there was no room for me to come to show anything else. But I remember there were a couple of times that because of, again, how God would move in my appointments with my clients, the ministry would be reversed, and I would be the one behind the chair crying, or I'll be the one prayed for, or I'm the one having a breakthrough because I was going through, or I remember a season, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I sat behind my chair in silence because I was so broken and dealing with so much and scared and anxious and dealing with all of these things. And then having, at the time when I left, Lennox was 1.5 years. So having a small baby that still wants you to laugh and smile and play and all of these things. But like, it was literally, I'm like, I remember it was Stephen Furtick, Joyce Meyer, and Dr. Matthew Stevenson were the 3 voices God used to get me through that season of just my mind. Because again, we put this unrealistic expectation of strength on us. And God, I remember one night he told me, he was like, where did I tell you to be this strong? I told you in your weakness, my strength is made perfect. It don't say nothing about you strong. And that night when he said that, I broke. And so from that point on, I allowed myself to not put on a facade and go to work like, oh, I'm all good. I'm all like, you know what? No, I'm not together. I'm not all together lovely today. I'm not okay. But in the healing process, God definitely hid me, because it was once the divorce was initiated, I took off. Like there was always elevation, but there was something about when that thing got initiated that like literally all of the blessings just, I mean, it flooded me. And for me, that was God's way of showing me, I'm fighting for you. I got you. Like, cause like during the whole thing, he wouldn't let me speak out on anything social. Like a lot of people didn't know I was going through a divorce until the paperwork was drawn and it was a legal, like a thing. And that was almost a year and a half, really, almost that whole thing. So there were some people who had no idea. But God told me, he said, don't you say a word. Don't you post nothing. I'm gonna vindicate you. And people would just be like, damn, what's going on with her? She winning and glowing and all this stuff. And I would just be sitting back like, child, if y'all knew what it looked like behind this chair or in this room. And I'm in here crying and just trying to get myself together. But like, I freed myself from feeling like I had to be strong for everybody.
Wow. Wow.
But in doing that, it literally, like, never would have thought. I mean, I remember daydreaming about having my own edge control. I got that now. I remember daydreaming about providing hair, sponsored by a hair company now, where I could buy, like, all the things I used to dream about and think that were not possible. God made it possible for me in the midst of hell. Like, woo! Yeah. Come on, I'm bad.
He has such an amazing way of doing that.
Yes.
And as you were coming through that, how were you, like you said, God told you don't speak out, don't say anything. So how were you freed to start allowing people to love you through that?
Whew. The first thing, it was a decision, because I remember after everything happened, I literally felt my heart stop beating. I was alive, but like as far as love, connection, anything with really anyone, not even just romantically, I felt my heart stop beating. And I had made up in my mind that I was going to be content with raising Lennox, letting him go off and do his life, and I was going to travel the world and just do whatever, and just be that fly auntie out here just kicking it. I was like, I'm done. And I remember on one of the trips that actually, because I traveled to Greenville a couple of times during that time, and then I like went to Gatlinburg with my parents one time too. But every time I would get on the road, I would hear this song called "Tell Your Heart to Beat Again." And on the white Christian stations, they play the same 7 songs in rotation. So you're gonna keep hearing it. So for hours, I would hear this song. And I remember God telling me, I went to the waterfall downtown Greenville. And I was on the bridge right before I left to go home. And I remember being afraid to go back home, afraid to come back to Cincinnati. Like the peace I had in the safety of being around my family, I didn't want to leave that. And then I also felt love, but then going back home, I was like, ugh. And I remember God telling me asking me at that moment, he said, I need you to give your heart permission to beat again. And I said, but God, I don't want to. And he said, I know, but I need you to, because I have something better for you. And I literally at the bridge, like, I know people are like, what's she talking to? And I was like, oh. And I was like, God.
Having a whole temper tantrum with God.
Temper tantrum in public, like, I don't want to. I said, I don't want to, but because I trust you, I will. And I made a decision to allow my heart to beat again. And from that point on, I remember my healing was intentional. And my healing wasn't intentional so I could get a man. My healing was intentional so I could wake up every day. My healing was intentional so I could eat. My healing was intentional so that I could, like, that whole thing of having a sound mind, y'all, that thing is so real, because I remember having just a tormented mind for so long. And I remember like being like, God, if you don't help me, I can't do this. I can't get my thoughts together. I can't stop replaying stuff. I can't stop overthinking. If you don't help me get my mind together, I'm literally losing it. And I remember one day, it was 2 minutes. I went a two minutes without thinking nothing crazy. And I was like, oh gosh, I did. Oh God. I just felt, and then like, I was like, what was that? What did I do? Like trying to like do it again. But God literally restored and renewed my mind. So that like, I could just, you know, see people and not be like, what you want? What you here for? Like it began once my mind got healed, I felt it go to like my heart and everything else. Cause you know, it says as a man thinketh, so is he. So I had to get my thoughts together. That's crazy, yeah. But then, you know, by the time, you know, my eyeballs, because by the time I seen Mr. Crutchfield, I was still legally married and he was in a relationship, but my eyes had synced.
Your eyes had seen the goodness of the Lord.
Of the Lord in the land of the living, huh? So I was like, oh, handsome, who is that? But even in that time, I still allowed myself to go through whatever healing that I needed. But because I made that decision, I was not like, no, he man, woman, hater, no. Like, nah, it wasn't none of that. Like, I just had to wait for my time to arrive. To receive my blessing.
Look, even he is in the comments laughing at you.
He already know what the time it is. Like, hey, how you doing?
So I also want to touch on, you mentioned in your bio that you started singing with the Voices of Hope in New York at 7. And I was trying to remember, because I remember being up there at a performance y'all did, and I'm like, was that the infamous the summer that I was up there that happened, or was that, we ain't gonna talk about the summer,
right?
Or was that another time? But I'm thinking it had to be during that summer, I'm assuming. But
I think by the time I had the solo singing, we were on tour and we came to a church in South Carolina.
Okay.
It was somewhere in South Carolina. My mom was on here. She might.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember that moment. I'm like, where was that at? Because I didn't think it happened.
I remember you been like, what's like this?
Yes, I did have an outburst moment. That's why I was like, I don't think it was during that summer. But so
that's my dad. Look,
don't even mention his comments. We're not going to go there. That's not what this interview is about. So I'm talking about you singing. You started at a very young age, and going through some of the things that you have been through. Was there a time where you lost your zeal for singing?
When I got to college, because again, before college, church was not an option. It was like, we going.
Absolutely not.
We go in and we're gonna be there all day. We gonna go to the morning service and then go out to eat with everybody. Go dig my house. Everybody gonna take a nap or wherever you get in, fit in. Then we go into the evening service. So it was not an option. So I sang all the time. But when I got to college and I didn't have a church home, even the church that I tried to get linked up with at the time, my freshman year, it was a Baptist church. And when you come from non-denomination or Pentecostal, whatever First Christian Fellowship was, when you come from that to go to Baptist, it didn't work. So I think they tried to use me because they're like, oh my gosh, she can sing. But it just didn't work. And I actually didn't. When I heard one of the deacons call the Holy Spirit mumbo jumbo, and I was like, this is what I use every day. So let me go and leave. I put my finger up, walked out, and came back.
Okay.
So
okay.
right. Oh, Jumbo, how dare you?
Oh,
Like, oh,
yeah.
no, you don't know, but
Yeah.
okay. I'm not gonna wait for you to find out. I'm gonna go ahead and leave.
Just thank them for their hospitality, and let's go ahead and
Thank you for everything you've done for me. I'm out. So for a couple of years not being affiliated with a church, I didn't sing. And those were definitely those times where I had allowed when you're in college and drinking and partying and sleeping around and stuff is a thing, nobody really wants to hear about God. And I remember being made fun of for being a church girl. We gotta go pray. Oh, you're reading your Bible there, huh? I mean, stupid stuff. I'm like, y'all making fun of me for praying? Like, really? I couldn't handle it. And so I just remember, like, during that season where I wasn't connected to God, wasn't connected to singing, is when I really allowed myself to get influenced by this, like, and I say like the spirits of perversion, because they run together. Some people just think it's one thing. No, I had the whole family. And during that time, it actually was interesting because when I was in the meat of being in a homosexual relationship, I sang with the, I did get engrafted into the college's gospel choir. But child, that wasn't no, that was a breeding ground for sin, child, because it was everybody. Like, you just picked your clique that just was doing what you was doing, and everybody would just, nobody said nothing because everybody was sinning. So like half the tenors was gay, the side of the tenors was sleeping with girls, and everybody was doing their thing. So through that choir, I linked up with a smaller group called In Spirit. And it was so crazy because we would go to churches and stuff and be singing down the house. And I'll be up there telling people about their sin and all kind of stuff. And I was forehead deep in my own, like, how does this work? How do you get up here every week? And again, the gift coming out repentance. So I was still able to bring the presence of God into a place because that was just the gift God gave me. But like, but I remember it was those moments where I would start singing again and really get in his presence that I would be like, you tripping. What are you doing?
Yeah,
you went like the conviction starts sitting.
That's what I was getting ready to say. If you were invoking his presence, conviction had to start tapping on you.
It definitely was, but this is what I started doing because one thing I learned when it comes to any type of sin that you are consistently engaging in, there's a warping of your mind. So mentally, what I found myself doing was I would omit scriptures that had anything to do with what I enjoyed doing. And I would be like, oh, he ain't talking about me. Oh, that scripture you're talking about, oh, let me skip over that. Like, I literally just picked and choose what part of the Bible I wanted to engage in. And if it talked about doing, I didn't read it. I was like, no, I don't want to be free. I'm going to keep. Let me close this Bible. Put this over here because I literally, and the Holy Spirit's a gentleman. He ain't going to force you. I would just feel like gentle nudges. I'd be like, no now. And I remember like all the things my mom taught me, it would be those moments where I was about to make a drastic decision. Like, I don't know if people know this, but I was getting ready to go on Real World because I knew 2 people who were on the show and they were going to help me get on. And I was going to go on as a gay advocate. I was like, I got this big mouth. I'm bold. I'm about to go on here and talk about, and God was like, oh, you going to use your mouth, but not for that. He shut that down. Like,
yeah,
no ma'am. So all those times where I was about to make some drastic life-altering decision, the Holy Spirit would bring up a scripture I remember, or bring up a moment in church that I remember, or have somebody, my mom would reach out to me, something. He would have some subtle way of being, and I think it would be during rehearsals. It was actually during a rehearsal that I got delivered. That singing group, we were sitting there singing. And again, being in, like, I appreciate that group because it put me back in his presence more consistently. and singing more consistently. So it got to that point where I went from being not around the Holy Spirit and not around his presence at all to like having to constantly fight him away. Like, no, I don't want to hear that. No. And I remember sitting there at the rehearsal and my chest started burning. You know, Jesus started speaking to you at church and your chest started getting hot. And your heart started beating all fast. And you be like, oh no, God, oh no. I heard the Holy Spirit real loud that day. I ain't heard God in a long time, but that day I heard him say, they know. Say something to them before they say something to you. And I was like, they know. I was sitting there like, and I just remember being like, finally, I just was like, I gotta take out something. And I blurted it out and I confessed everything. And a lot of people don't believe this, but I don't care because it's true because it happened to me. When I confessed each one of those things, masturbation, pornography, fornication, alcoholism, homosexuality, I literally felt the desire fall off. I no longer, like I used to drink every single day and would get a headache if I didn't. I had no taste, no desire for the taste of alcohol. Just within me speaking out to them that y'all, I want to be free from this. Now, it wasn't an instantaneous thing because I didn't get into those things overnight. I've been working on some of them things for some years. So I had to literally, God told me, he said, there's a working of miracles. So there was a process I had to work out. But one thing that I learned in my process, that even when I did fall again, God was there to pick me right back up. Like, okay. And he wouldn't condemn me. He would say, oh, this time you took 4 steps before you fell. Now try again. And then the next time, a kid, and I'll, come on, baby, get back up. You can keep. And that's what got me that's what got me to deliverance and freedom.
So he loved you through it. Absolutely.
Yes. And I didn't, the prodigal son, I was just so desperate. I would have taken the crumbs off the table. And God was like, nah, you my daughter. You coming back to your rightful place. Actually, it's going to be better than where you left. And I experienced that in real life. And that was like, because you feel all this shame and guilt. And you be like, oh gosh, I should just be in the back, sitting there. God was like, give her a microphone. I'm like, Jesus, I want a microphone. Go ahead. I was like, oh, okay. And once I got past sharing it because the shame and guilt that people try to put on you, even knowing that they themselves are doing or have done the same or something worse. Mm-hmm. But once I remember sharing, I literally overcame by the word of my testimony. And each time I shared, it got easier. It got easier. And the devil would try to play tricks on me in my mind, like, ooh, don't tell that person, or ooh, don't say this, or ooh, don't say that. And so then I'll be like, nope, I gotta say it because you over here telling me not to. I have to say it. So each and every time it got easier, and then my inbox started blowing up. Oh my gosh, I was struggling with that too, and I never heard anybody say that. Oh my goodness, I'm like, well, look at here. I'm thinking I'm the only one in her.
Yes. It is amazing when we open our mouth how so many people identify with where you were because it's where they are.
Yeah. And that set me free because, again, in the church Hart Ramsey said that one of the worst things about Black churches and salvation, as soon as you get saved, they give you a mask and teach you to be a hypocrite. And so people cover up and I'm blessed and highly favored of the Lord. And all this stuff that we're taught to say, but behind it, we're struggling and nobody wants to say it. So you think you're by yourself. And then it takes somebody like me who went through, something that a lot of people think, oh, you're born that way. I wasn't. And I'm as gay as I was, child, that 6'5" hunk of man, my God. Like, I know what the Lord has done. And I'll tell people. And so that gives other people the confidence and courage to know, that I have so many people, their family members are you know, in a homosexual lifestyle. And I'll tell them, use me as your hope. Cause I was at gay prides, at gay clubs. I was gone. Use me as your hope that God will deliver, that God can redeem. And like now people, if I don't share my testimony, people have no idea. Cause there's no residue. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, girl, I was wilding. But God.
Yes. Yeah, so you mentioned the singing group that was intricate to your process and your growth, and you growing through that. At what point did you start singing with Speak Life, who you currently are a member of now?
Okay, Speak Life has been together for 13 years. Kiki, if you're watching, 13.
She's on here, so she'll probably chime in a minute.
I think we've been together for 13 years. So I remember this was not too long after my deliverance. And it was actually very interesting because with Speak Life, when we all came together, first we were just since 08. Okay.
So yeah, that's going on 13 years. Yeah.
I was like, be like Linux.
Don't do a Linux. Yeah, don't do a Linux.
The bigger number. But when we first came together, Chris had a project out and he was just bringing together singers to just back him up. And so, and then we did through a couple of people, and then we got down to like the group of us. It ended up being like, I had a singing thing going on. Chris had a singing thing going on. Michaela had one. And so we would be like Shintara Nicole and Speak Life, and Christopher Michael and Speak Life, Michaela and Speak Life. We was each other's rotating background singers. And then we were like, how about we just drop the such and such and Speak Life and just become a group? Like, just become Speak Life. So we did that. And I remember one of the first things I got Speak Life to do with me was rock X shirts. And I remember hearing about this church out in California that had X shirts that said X slave, X, just at first they were like kind of subtle. And so I remember being like, hey, y'all have an X homosexual shirt? And they were like, oh, we don't. But do you want one? I was like, I would love one. And so Speak Life, they all picked out what their X was that they felt free sharing, and we got shirts made. And we had a single called I'm an X. It's a song that I wrote that we turned into a group song, and we started traveling places. You know what I'm saying? Because like my parents don't hear this is funny. So one of the hardest things, I'm telling you, when you walk in freedom, it get a little challenging sometimes, especially around your parents. So we were in Atlanta, and we had decided to wear our X shirts to the Lenox Mall, just as a ministry tool. Because you see somebody with X homosexual on their shirt, you might want to ask a question like, what does that mean? How did that happen? So that weekend in Atlanta, all of our families came, and I had wore all my shirts already. So the only one I had left was X Porn Addict. So I remember coming out the hotel, and my mom
you didn't give your daddy a heads up.
I remember walking out, and my mom read my shirt. She was like, okay. She's just, okay. And then I'm like, oh God, we gotta walk around with everything. I was like, well, God, I'm gonna get a little freer today. I had to be free in front of my parents first. I was just like, hey, it is what it is now. I'm an X. I'm free. Like, I'm not doing it currently.
Yes.
Yeah. So Speak Life, we've been rocking. Like, we are a family. Like, we've been together for so long. Like, it's, we have some new exciting news that we haven't announced yet, so I'm not going to announce it on here. I'm going to let some beautiful things are happening for the group, and yeah, so.
Good deal. So we've learned so much about you, from the Brady Bar to Speak Life and other things that you have going on. So if people want to connect with Shintara Nicole beyond this platform, how can they connect with you?
I made it really easy. All of my social medias are the same, Shintara Nicole. So you can follow me here on Facebook. And, you know, if I see that Tammy is your mutual friend, I'll add you. But sometimes you be like, who are you? And Shintara is a pretty weird name. So as soon as you guys type Shintara Nicole in on Instagram or everything, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pop up. And I have some amazing hair growth oil. Y'all don't know, I used to have like a fade on the side, and you know, so if you want to buy some of my hair growth oil or my edge control, which I have on right here too, you can go to shintaranicole.com. If you're in Cincinnati, you can book an appointment too for April, but buy a product, shintaranicole.com. But I would love for you guys to stay connected, follow me and see. I got a few things coming and brewing this year. Some things have been put on hold temporarily, but it's coming.
Wow. Thank you so much. There's a lot of people in the comments that are here to support you. So thank you guys for chiming in. As we are getting ready to wrap up and get the final words of motivation and encouragement, and I don't know if you saw the comment or not. Pastor Wendy I don't know if she's still on, but she was on here as well. So always will acknowledge her. Hey, Pastor Wendy. And of course your parents are on. I don't know. I put a comment from your mom up early. You know, your dad is on here cracking jokes. Okay. So before we have Shintara share her last words of motivation and encouragement, as always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you didn't hear it, I typically do 2 months on and a month off. So for the month of March, there will not be any Women Who Win interviews, but I have something very, very, very exciting coming up. So if you want to find out what that is and participate in it, please go ahead and drop the words "include me" in the comments. That way, when I do drop the news, I can make sure to send you an individual message, or if I have your email address, I will email you. There's something coming up where I'm creating a space where we can have some deeper conversations. I'm inviting some exclusive guests into that space. So if you want to be in those conversations where we can go deeper, we won't have, you know, the time restrictions and some things people don't want to share out on a public platform while they're streaming live on both Facebook and YouTube. But we are going to create a space where your story can be shared and a whole bunch of other things that God is having me do for the women that will join me in that space. So I see you guys dropping "include me." Thank you guys for that, and I will make sure to do that. Brandy said, "Is that the reason your hair grows like that?" Brandy, honestly, and a lot of my family is on here. I have used the Brady oil, and it does work. But my hair's just been this way.
Yeah.
All my days. So
my hair grow fast, period. But when you add that oil in there, it's like, okay, speed it up a little bit.
So Shintara, you have shared so much to encourage and inspire us. So if you had to leave some words of inspiration and encouragement for those that are watching, or for those that will watch the replay, because I do have some people that are able to go back and watch the replay and they still comment and are encouraged by what they hear, what would you like to leave with the people that are watching and will watch this segment tonight?
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh God, what do you want me to say? Hold God to his word. Like this interview was a condensed version of the goodness of God in my life. But one thing that was consistent is I held God hostage, I feel like, to his word. When he makes a promise, he puts his word above his name. And as unfortunately, at times, as Black people in church, we've been taught church and religion. But when it comes to a personal relationship with God, we don't know the full access we have to him and the power we have and the promises that he speaks. And so everything that you have heard here, overcoming some things that literally were assigned to kill me, it was because I held God to his word. Whatever my situation was, I found a word on that thing and I held him to it. And I saw him, perfect love cast out all fear. I would say, God, I'm afraid. So I need to feel your perfect love. And everything I was fearful about would work out in like a perfect way. Like literally my faith, the things that have just been manifested in my life is because I held God to his word. It wasn't anything about religion and just going through the motion. A father-daughter and being able to go talk to your dad and be like, God, I need you. And you trust that he's going to come through. Mm-hmm. And any of you that are parents, when it comes to your child, you would do anything for them. Imagine that times infinity with God, like, because that's his MO with us. Like, he will withhold no good thing from us. And so as whatever your situation is that you are caught in, that you are struggling with, that you are, because right now it's a lot. 2020 and 2021 have been a lot. But even in them being a lot, God is bigger. God is greater. He's more powerful. Hold him to his word and watch him blow your mind. Watch him. This is the point now. I know people who tell me they just sitting and watching, like, what God gonna do next? And it's to no account of my own. I hold God to his word. Like, God, you said, your word said, you promised. And then when he does it, I give him the glory. Like, well, he said he was gonna do it, and ta-da, he did it. God to his word.
Yes. And I typically do this, and I was just reminded that I didn't do this with you. When, as women, your mother, your wife, you're an entrepreneur, what do you do for Shintara downtime?
I love watching TV, like watching a good show.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, that just be my thing. Like, if I could just sit still and watch some TV and scroll on my phone and I ain't got to be nothing to nobody, that is that. Oh, I love it. Like, I'm watching this show now called Dynasty. I can't get off of it. Like, whoop, goodness. But yeah, like, because a lot of times we can even busy ourselves in doing things for ourselves. And I got a lot going on. When I get up in the morning between going to work and being a wife and being a mom and all that stuff that doesn't stop, I like when I just could sit and do nothing. I'm like, if I could stare at the wall, I would. Because even, manicures and pedicures, that's still getting up, getting dressed. No, just let me sit here and stare at this TV and my phone, and I'm so content. So that's my personal thing.
Yeah, I've had quite a few women on that have been guests to say, just let me stay home and do nothing. Let me have a quiet day of doing nothing. Yeah, a lot of people think it is the manicures, the pedicures. Let me get a massage. No, just leave me alone. And let me invoke some silence unless I want to hear something. So I can understand how that is valued. So again, thank you so much for saying yes. Those of you who have tuned in with me this month has been a very special month of interviews because I've invited people who I literally have known either most of my life or in Shintara's case, as you guys know, all of her life, because she is the oldest niece in our family. Some of you that are connected with me on social media see me post about Aunt Tammy's babies a lot. Shintara is actually what I consider round one. It's 10 of them, of the nieces and nephews, but from that 10, it's now 13 who I consider Aunt Tammy's babies, so their children. So it is 13. Y'all some rabbits around these parts. I'm trying to tell you.
My God, I didn't even.
Zion made 13. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah. It got to the point where every time I would post Aunt Tam or somebody, I got a new baby, I'm like, y'all, I ain't doing it. It's just, but there's another new baby on the way. So yeah. It's 13 of round 2 currently. So Thank you guys for joining us. This has been another special interview. And again, I look forward to coming back to you guys with another Women Who Win in April. But there is something very special in March that you will want to join me for. So I'm looking forward to having you ladies that have already said include me to be a part of that. And we'll be spreading the word about what that is and how that's taking place. So we're going to get ready to wrap this up. Just always remember that there's a purpose and a plan and a path that God has prepared for you, and life speaks. So until next time on this platform, we want you to have a good evening and keep pursuing life. Good night, y'all.
Bye.